Leaders of Tomorrow, India's only daily television platform for small businesses. We bring you the right information to empower you, the MSME entrepreneur. Tonight on the show, we're bringing you highlights of a panel discussion that my colleague Pooja Jain did in Guwahati on the next wave of growth. We had a panel discussion comprising academia, industry associations, as well as entrepreneurs, talking about the startup culture, talking about some of the biggest challenges in Guwahati when it comes to starting a business, including government regulation and hiring. Take a listen.
Give me a sense of how, Assam's startup ecosystem has matured. And, Professor, I'd love to bring you in here in the sense that, broadly speaking, for example, how well connected is the Guwahati-based investor to the Guwahati-based entrepreneur? Or is there a huge gap that needs to be bridged there?
We are encouraging entrepreneurship, and we have got an entrepreneurship cell. IIT Guwahati has an incubation center. The only thing is that these institutions, most of the students are from outside. So the number of students from this region is limited. So therefore, the number of students who stay here is also from a smaller pool. But having said that, I think the main issue is about investment. You talked about connect between investors, but actually the Guwahati investment climate itself needs to mature, needs to grow. There is money around, but most of that money, from what I can understand, is with the trading community. And they are not yet in the culture of investing in manufacturing or even services. So in this point, I just want to add, we are a new institution near the airport. It's the Institute of Information Technology. Next to us, Government of Assam is setting up an IT park, and they're calling it the Cyber City. And so once that comes up, hopefully in this sector of ICT, there will be at least infrastructure available for small and medium industries to set up shop. And with our institute next door, we can provide manpower, we can provide intellectual inputs, and that is actually the whole scheme about developing the ICT area in this region.
Sure, and Dilip, I'd love your thoughts here. Sir mentioned a point about government policy and how investor-friendly it is or perhaps is not at the moment. Your thoughts on the direction it needs to head in for this whole ecosystem to mature?
Yeah, you see, we have seen very recently that the export logistics have improved. For example, to export, we used to have satellite office in Kolkata, Mumbai, to send export shipments. That has gone now. Now we can directly ship the goods from Guwahati airport. That has already happened. So similarly, the ecosystems with such infrastructures will certainly develop. It's going to help the industries.
Well, let's take a look at the existing stage. If, for example, Guwahati is a trader's paradise, if that's its strength, right? What does that mean with respect to micro, small, and medium enterprises? And where are the gaps in this food chain that they can take advantage of, add value, contribute, and build businesses around? And my question is for you, Pankaj.
Sir was saying regarding the ecosystem, like a couple of years back, we started an e-commerce platform, and it was more of an online shop, which Flipkart was also doing at the same time in Bangalore. So it was around 2012, and we were trying to do some selling of T-shirts, then SMEs, gahanas, so a lot of handicrafts we were trying to sell, and we were doing a good number of business there. But when we tried to reach out to an investor, it was really difficult for us to meet investors. There was not an investor community who could invest in terms of cutting-edge technology, or in terms of who could believe in that time that e-commerce was a model to be invested. But today, if we say everyone is investing in e-commerce, so that is also a factor. But at the same time, there are very few companies of e-commerce who have been invested in Northeast. And so far, the companies which have been invested are very few. Around 4 or 5 companies have been invested in terms of a venture fund. So that is a long story as to how we could reach to the market. So that, and the ecosystem as a result was, there was a lack of mentors, there was a lack of investors, there was a lack of venture capitalists. So we were trying to build up a platform called Startup Assam, and we were trying to build this network so that the problems of the entrepreneurs can reach out to the Thai network, then different venture funds like Sequoia Capital in Mumbai, or so that they can reach out to. And we give a confidence to the investor network that yes, there is a power for this entrepreneur to be invested. Why don't you invest in his venture? So those were some of the activities that we were trying to do in terms of Startup Assam. We organized around 20 programs on startups, and since 2015 to 2018, we have been organizing B-Plan competition also for building up the ecosystem. And out of those hackathons that have been organized, some of the B-plans have been really successful. They have went to the next level of investing, and from seed funding to angel funding. So there's a lot more way to work upon this ecosystem. So we would need the government support in terms of making it happen. Of course, Advantage Assam was organized for Invest in Assam. So that is a good program which has invested a couple of funds to the market. So this will help in benefiting the whole ecosystem as a result.
So Kunal, Pankaj just mentioned here that there are several routes to funding. It's not just institutional capital that comes from an investor necessarily, or let me say a venture capital investor, right? There's angel funding, there's friends and family rounds of funding, so on and so forth. So if you could quickly walk us through how you ramped up your business.
So, I mean, we are still at a very starting stage.
But you've enjoyed phenomenal growth in the recent last 4 quarters.
I mean, we are yet to go to market because we are still developing products. So, like I mentioned at the start, most of the interaction that we do right now is not with customers, but with our employees. And that is how we realized that we had to be an employee-centric organization rather than a customer-centric organization to start with. With regards to ramping up, I've tried to keep costs really low. I had my savings and money from family and friends that I used up. And by keeping the costs really low, we are hoping to glide easily. But I would like to add about what Pankaj mentioned about e-commerce. That back in 2012, he started the e-commerce venture. But still today, especially if you look at the Northeast region, you would still find a huge gap between people who are yet to embrace the digital wave. Few years down the line, people are going to need to go online, not because they want to sell something or they want to connect with customers, but even to seem credible. I mean, when I Google something, I expect it to show me a credible result of something. So I still feel there is a huge gap, and people from remote regions and hilly regions still need to embrace the digital wave and get on board with getting online.
It's time for a break here on this panel discussion. We are talking about the next wave of growth in Guwahati and what some of the biggest voices in Assam are saying when it comes to what perhaps will propel your business to the next level of growth. Do stay tuned. More highlights on the other side of the short break. Welcome back. You're with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow, and tonight on the show we're bringing you highlights of a panel discussion that my colleague Pooja Jain did in Guwahati, talking about the next wave of growth. We go to 20 such venues across the length and breadth of the country, covering not just metros but also tier 2 and tier 3 cities. The information on where we're headed to next is up on our website, www.leadersoftomorrow.co.in. Head on over there and tell us what you as an entrepreneur think we should be discussing in your city. If you have any suggestions for us, we're all ears as always. For now, take a listen to a slice of that panel discussion we did in Guwahati.
One of the big advantages that you just mentioned that sort of ran through my mind was that for a company that's based here in Guwahati, they can operate in bootstrap mode for a lot longer because the cost of operating here is so low. So that is a built-in advantage and a hidden advantage, if you will, that companies of all sizes can really capitalize on. But I really want to visit this in the context of manufacturing in particular. So, being in the textile business is expensive, it's capital intensive, it requires equipment, a sophisticated logistics strategy, so on and so forth. So, sir, as you chose to return to Assam and to Guwahati in particular, what were the pros and cons you were considering?
Yeah, that's, I've worked for about 27 years in state-of-the-art factories, industries, big industries. I was having exposure, experience. I thought, why not I bring this exposure and experience back to my motherland. That's how it all started. Although we started from Mumbai, as a merchant exporter, and then we want to become a manufacturing and exporting company. When we started manufacturing, then the challenges became, very much visible, which we could never imagine. But the formula, the business model which we could create was that we had taken out the business from the cottage level, which was confined in terms of production, in terms of quality standards, in terms of marketability, creating new markets. We have come out of that cottage industry to a commercialization of the local indigenous raw material which are available in the region. We don't produce cotton in the Northeast like the other states of India. We don't produce wool like Kashmir or North India. So we realize that the Mother Nature has given us such beautiful, exclusive textile raw material, which are eri, muga, and so-called Assam silk all together. So that was confined to a very limited market space. It was not taken to the global market. When we commercialized, we had marketing challenges, but we could do it. The economics have changed. We have seen in our last 10 years of journey, we have seen how the yarn was made available to the handloom weavers by inducting an intermediate technology. From hand spinning, we have brought intermediate technology to commercialize and made quality yarns available to the handloom sector, where this magic has worked. When yarn became available to the weavers, handloom weavers, when yarn of international quality was made available to the weavers, so entire sector is today, I feel proud to comment that, about more than 1,000 handloom weavers or hundreds of thousands of handloom weavers are now eyeing at the global market, and they are wanting to come back with the vision of the strength of handloom and sericulture and silk.
As we leave the major metros and as we travel to these smaller cities, I'm always taken in by how beautifully entrepreneurs in these cities manage to accomplish that. So, hats off to you, sir. So you've mentioned incubation cells. You've mentioned, these in-house, intense environments in which students connect with, real-time projects that can potentially be tested in industry. So if, for example, someone from sir's team from the textile industry wanted to take an innovative spin right, on a particular product or service and approached you or approached another student in one of these university incubators to take it forward, what would the next step be? What is the scope? What is the process? How do they get to the next level?
Yeah, so, the standard method, is to have some kind of an incubation center in academic institutions. And as I mentioned, IIT Guwahati has developed one for quite some time. And now all the other technical institutes, even Assam Engineering College, even Jorhat Engineering College, they're all setting up incubation centers. And in fact, Government of India, Government of Assam is also encouraging them. And in fact, Government of India is is funding with seed money, with initial loans for these incubators to get going. I think we have to, in our education system, bring in the entrepreneurship aspect more into the curriculum so that students know that there is a huge opportunity here. And we have seen, I have myself seen, actually it's the students who are going to drive things forward. Our time is over in a way. They are the ones, as you mentioned, they're going to take the risk. And they are connected. The student who is sitting in my institution, he is connected all over India. Because if somebody's come from Delhi and study in my place, his classmates are in Bombay, in Bangalore, and they are on Facebook and what have you. And then the local student who has also joined my institute, he is his friend now, and this whole culture is building up where the students are actually driving us forward. In fact, my institution, very new institution, the entrepreneur cell has come up, not because of me or my faculty, it's those students, they came to me last year and said that we want to start a e-cell. So we have already started a company. We forgot to take your permission. And we already networked with this, that, and so is going to come. And they actually drove the whole thing forward. And I think that's where the real thing is going to happen. And we're going to encourage the young students, not only in an institute like IIT or IIIT, but in Jorhat Engineering College, Guwahati University, all the local institutions, their students already happening, but we got to energize them. And I think other things will come in.
Well, I have to comment that two of the companies that we've been speaking with here today, sir, so Cellfisher, for example, it's very much rooted in reality, in that instead of creating another Uber or another Ola, realizing the infrastructure challenges of 4G connectivity or smartphone availability not being at where it could be, and hence creating a dial-in service for getting a cab. Likewise, with Fabric Plus, it's so rooted in capitalizing on Assam's strengths, in that you particularly focus your suite of textile products on silks that are native to this area. Is that what it takes to succeed in this environment? Is squarely looking at the realities and the strengths and creating a product or service that offers you an advantage that mirrors that? And my question is to you, Professor.
Yeah, I think that is definitely one aspect, and that is the first thing to look at. But at the same time, we are in a global economy, and the whole Indian economy we are part of. So we must not also forget about the opportunities that are there in the rest of the country. And, so not talking about exporting as such, but to, find markets in Bengal, in Bihar, in Uttar Pradesh. Definitely, as you have also mentioned, there are advantages in tier 2, tier 3 cities vis-a-vis the big centers. There are disadvantages. We have already talked about investment climate and all, but the cost of living is lower, and if we take in local talent, they may be staying in their own homes, and the cost of general food and other things, transportation distances are less, notwithstanding the problems of transportation we have when it rains. We all know about that. Hopefully they'll get solved sooner rather than later. But there are advantages here which we can take advantage of and market anything. I think we should not confine ourselves to only the strengths here, which are very good examples of Fabric Plus and Cellfisher. But I think this is just the beginning. I'm sure the students will venture forth on anything and everything. That's how I think that's the way to grow, actually.
How you portray your business, especially to someone, given that, like you're saying, sir, It's a global marketplace, and it's your hiring pool is the globe. So how do you position it such that it can appeal to someone that potentially has no prior exposure or interest even in your business? You had a comment?
I wanted to add to what Mr. Barua said earlier.
Please.
So he said that you need to sell the story and your interns are your brand ambassadors. And I completely agree with that because a few months ago we hired a management graduate from AIM, Assam Institute of Management. And at the end of his internship period, he learned so much that he propositioned that we do an exit interview. And we did that. So it was basically an interview where he shared his experiences during these 2 months that he worked with us and how he felt working with us. What we did was we recorded it. We are amateur video recorders. We recorded it, we edited it, and we have posted that online on YouTube. What we are hoping is like people will watch these videos and they will understand what it is like working with us and get a clear idea of what they can expect that when they join us. So I believe it's really important to bring forward your interns' experiences when they work with you because they are the ones who have really spend time with you day in and day out, and they are the ones who really understand how you work.
The underlying point really here is that in spite of all of the constraints, what I'm sensing is there is an optimism, and that's reflected in the research. That's reflected in the fact that Guwahati's population, for example, is projected to exceed upwards of, I want to say 3 million by the year 2025, right? The fact that it's at least conceptually on the map as far as the government's smart city mission. And just hearing all of the anecdotes from your personal and professional journeys, you know, while no one can predict the accurate time horizon, I think it's fair to say that Guwahati is on the cusp of the next wave of growth. Thank you so much, Guwahati. You've been a lovely audience.
All right, that's our show tonight. We love hearing from you as always, so do keep your comments coming in. Here's how you get in touch with us. Our email ID is leadersoftomorrow@timesgroup.com. You can also get in touch with us on social media. Tweet at me personally at Sunanda_J or LOT_ET now, which is our official Twitter handle. You can also get in touch with us on our Facebook page, Leaders of Tomorrow on ET Now. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.